We are. We're going to move on to Stefanski here and the identity crisis Jason mentioned earlier. And Jason, I'm going to start with you here to explain your identity crisis theory with the Browns, and then we'll go around the horn and end with Bull, who, on top of the offensive identity crisis, to use the same phrase twice, Bull had some issues with Kevin Stefanski's clock management down the end and overall kind of preparation for this game. So, Jason, Stefanski, not his best game, but it may not be all on him because of some higher-ups, in your opinion.
I just think that they're forcing him to play a system, a style that this team is not suited for. I don't have the numbers in front of me, Mike. I don't know if you do or not about what I sent you last night.
The receiver numbers?
Yeah, basically the Browns receivers aren't fast enough and can't create separation. They're some of the slowest receivers as a whole.
You want the numbers?
Yeah, if you got them.
I got them. Earl, if you want to upload these graphics in, it's wide receiver stat 1, 2, 3, and 4. I think it's number 88 in the folder.
But, Jason, let me ask you this before those numbers come up.
Go ahead.
If this is the case, and you're probably right, if he's being forced into running a system he doesn't want to run, it doesn't make sense for this team. Are you saying it's just happening now, or that's been the plan the whole offseason? Because if it's just being forced on him now, then I'm with you. That's messed up.
No,
but if it's been forced all offseason, then he should have been prepared for it.
That's why Ken Dorsey's here. Like, we talked about it. We talked about it all summer, that there was just something weird about the whole way that whole went down, with the way AVP was fired and the way Dorsey came in. I thought for sure Kevin was going to relinquish play calling duties. I was a little surprised that he held on to him. I thought he should have held on to him. I thought he earned that right, and he's done a good job calling the plays in the time that he's here. But I just think that, you saw week one what they were trying to do with some of the stuff with Dallas. And then against Jacksonville, it goes back to a lot of what they ran last year with a lot of extra offensive linemen, a lot of heavy sets. They emphasized the run early. They established the run. They averaged over 4 yards a carry against Jacksonville. Now you come into a game against the Giants, a team that got absolutely gashed on the ground by Washington the week before. Washington did not punt against this Giants defense last week. And they run for, I think it was 165 yards or something like that. You would think that, hey, play the same style you played week 2. It seemed to be successful. It seemed to work. But instead they revert back to the Dallas game of shotgun spread, empty RPO. And they got the exact same result that they got against Dallas. This is a team built for the way that they played against Jacksonville. It minimizes some of the responsibilities on the quarterback. It provides extra blocking for an offensive line that has been struggling. And again, they got 4.3 yards per carry against the Jaguars defense. It's pretty good up in front on the front four.
These are the stats you were referring to, Jason, real quick, from the Athletic, True Media, and Next Gen Sports. But entering Sunday Night Football, the Browns had an average max route speed of 13.6 miles per hour, the third slowest of any receiver room in the NFL. On plays in which Watson has thrown the ball 20-plus yards downfield, they average a max speed on route of 14.7 miles per hour. That's the slowest among any wide receiver group. On deep throws, they've averaged 2.8 yards of separation from the nearest defender on targets, 26th in the NFL entering Sunday Night Football, and they have a stat called receptions above expected, which measures the rate at which you catch tough passes. They combine a couple different factors, and entering Sunday Night Football, according to Next Gen Sports, the Panthers were the only wide receiver group across the league that had a worse receptions above expected average.
But there's still ways to win with that. There's still ways to win. You can win this way with play action, with deep shots, after you've established the run. You can still win with receivers like that, but you don't win by calling deep routes against a fierce pass rush with a broken offensive line and a broken quarterback. That's not how you win. And that's what, go look at Deshaun's pass chart from yesterday and just in talking to guys around the team. Game plan was throw the ball down the field. We're going to throw the ball deep. We're going to line up and we're going to throw the ball deep with slow receivers who can't create separation against a Giants defense that has 3 good players. 3. And they line up defensive end, defensive tackle, defensive end. And they're the only 3 good players on that defense. And that's what you get out of it. And that's why I wrote about it, talked about it. They need to call an offensive style that fits the personnel that they have. And that's the offense they ran last year. And that's the offense they ran in week 2 against Jacksonville. Whatever they're trying to accomplish against Dallas and then yesterday against the Giants, they do not have a team built to play that way.
Bull, I know you got to leave soon, so if you get all your Stefanski thoughts in, then you could dip, and then
I can say a few extra minutes, but let me say this: Kevin Stefanski, except for Jason, I've defended him more than anyone else. I still think he's a good NFL coach. He's a good NFL coach. He's not a great NFL coach. The coach of the year stuff is bullshit. Sorry. He was awful yesterday, awful. And I got to go back and by the way, going for 2 to get to 15 made total sense. I know the anti-analytics people are going to be against that. But let's go to the end of the game, guys. The last 4 minutes. The Browns are looking at a 3rd and 1.5 at their own 29-yard line. This was not 3rd and inches, guys. This was 3rd and 1.5. They run a quarterback sneak with Jameis Winston. Why? It's not 3rd and inches, fine. You want to run a quarterback sneak? Especially now if you're thinking about going for it on 4th down. Run with your running back on 3rd down or throw the ball. Don't run a quarterback sneak for 1.5 yards. Jameis is good at the I got to fall forward quarterback sneak. He's not good in the I've got to run forward. He may be the slowest quarterback in the NFL. I mean, he can't move. He's got a fat ass. We've talked about this. And I can say it because I got a fat ass. So that was an atrocious play call. And you know me, Mike. I never talk about play calling. Never.
No, I gave you the head turn for saying you had. I don't know if you could say you have a fatty yourself. Like I'm not sure you could unless you got a BBL. Like that's real questionable.
No. So. Number 2. Then after that terrible play, he calls a timeout before the 4th down. Why? Why would you waste the precious time out there? That makes no sense whatsoever. Okay, so then he uses his timeout and he decides to go for it. Now. I am generally go for it guy. I think I would have punted there, but again, and I don't like to punt, but I think I would have punted there.
You punt before you call the timeout,
That's
and you
right.
got 3 timeouts and 4 minutes on the clock.
The Giants had cashed it in offensively. The Browns defense was playing well in the second half. They probably would have stopped. Now they didn't. Obviously, with the second time around, Singletary ran through them, but the game was over then. But if you had punted there, I bet you would have stopped them. And then you got the ball back and then once you don't make it on 4th down, and the reason I would have probably punted is because you're already in field goal range. Now the Giants missed a field goal, but if they make it, it's a 2-score game. That's why I think you punt there, because it wasn't. If it had been 4th and inches, maybe it was like 4th and 2. Okay. Then the Giants get the ball back that first time. There was, when they get the ball after the change of possession, there was 3:56 to go. The Browns only have 2 timeouts. So after the first down play, Singletary runs for no gain. So it's 2nd and 10. He uses his second timeout there. Why? There's almost 4 minutes left. So the clock, if you don't call, you only have 2 timeouts now. If you let the clock run, it's not going to get to the 2-minute warning. If you stop them on 3 plays and don't call any timeouts, you'll still get the ball back at the very latest at the 2-minute warning, right? So you'd still have 2 minutes and 2 timeouts. Why would you waste the timeouts there? I'd rather have 2 minutes and 2 timeouts than no timeouts and 3 minutes. I want those timeouts are more important because maybe I'm going to have to use them at some point down the line. You never know. I want those timeouts. It just didn't make any sense. And then you're forced to go for it the next 4th down when it's 4th and 11. If you had saved the timeouts, then maybe you could have punted again there. Now, who knows? There probably would have been enough time to punt on 4th and 11, but you had no choice because you had wasted your timeouts. It was really just buffoonery by Kevin Stefanski down the stretch of the game.
G, you could respond to all the above, and then we'll get into some super chats.
Listen, to me, it was 2 weeks in a row. I didn't like how he handled the clock management before in Jacksonville. Then this was even worse. You're a spot on bull. You took all my notes, all the notes that I had.
From you.
I said, dang, bro, he really he was looking through my window. That sequence, and I'm not going to regurgitate that. I'll just say this. If you are going to call the plays, Kevin, you can't have other mental errors in other aspects of the game. If you are so deep in the play calling minutia that you're not understanding that you have to manage the clock on the other end, on defense, calling timeouts and clock management, and you're still having penalties. if you're having penalties and clock management issues, that falls on the head coach, and you should be taking time out to say, look, I hired the man Dorsey. He got the ingredients. We brought him in here because we said that we needed an opportunity to change what we are doing. He is a man without a country at this point. The only common denominator in this whole thing is Kevin Stefanski. He's been calling plays since day one. So if he's going to continue to call plays if he's calling the plays, why get rid of Van Pelt then? What was the reason for getting rid of him? You got rid of him. You bring in a new guy. When you are a play caller, it's from the top down. You create the play. You run the route concepts. You're thinking about getting guys open. You're thinking about sequencing. You're thinking about the blocking assignments. And finally, you're thinking about the way you call a game. It is exactly the way it is with a pitcher and a catcher. You guys are baseball guys. You understand this. When you call a baseball game, it matters what sequence of plays you call. It matters what sequence of pitches you throw. And Kevin is taking somebody else's ingredients that they cooked up during the week, and he's coming and saying, well, I'm gonna serve it. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna cook it. I'm gonna do this. Trust me, it ain't working. It didn't work. Listen, at high level, it didn't work. It didn't work when you had Flacco, and they looked horrible against the Texans. At times, it looked horrible with Baker. At times, it looks terrible with Watson. The common denominator is the guy with the play sheet. Now, listen, if you want to just step out and say, I would respect him if he said the Cleveland Browns are running offense. The Cleveland Browns are a team that's going to be it. Just go. Mike Tomlin does it all the time. They're out there playing 3-0 football, Steeler football. Raven, did you see what the Ravens did? Did you see what the Ravens did? They ran the ball 46 times and threw it 15, and they got Lamar Jackson. You know what they said? Screw that. The Cowboys are terrible against the run. We're going to pound you up inside your head, and we're going to blow you out. We don't do that. We don't have an identity. Even on 3rd and 1, we have nothing that we can say, this is what the Browns do. Why in the world would you run a quarterback sneak on 3rd and 1, man? Hand the ball to your run. Deontay Foreman ran the ball well in between the tackles. Why would you bring a quarter and then run an RP? Look, they got a lot of problems, but the main problem is something is fishy. And guess what? Ken Dorsey can't do interviews. Is that correct?
No, he doesn't.
He talked last week.
Okay, did he talk? I can't. I don't think Ken Dorsey came here to play the Alex Van Pelt role. Do you believe that?
No, I mentioned it when the first press conference he did after the play calling was announced that Kevin was going to be calling the plays. Mike, remember that? I sent it to you and was laughing about how he was doing everything he could not to say how shocked he was that he wasn't the play caller. Which I don't think he should be the play caller. I don't think he's a very good play caller when he's in Buffalo. He was brought here to try and incorporate more concepts similar to what we've been talking about, some of these spread type concepts, but they don't have the personnel to match that, so it doesn't matter.
Hey, Mike, let me just say one other thing, because I gotta go. One thing real quick before you guys finish up. Couple of positives. I know it's a miserable day. First of all, the season's far from over. As bad as it looks right now, right? The Ravens lost to the Raiders last week. Raiders then lost to the Panthers this week. You know, it's a week-to-week league. Yep. The Browns could go to Vegas next week and look great. And then we're all feeling better about everything. So things do change week to week. Amari Cooper looked like Amari Cooper again. We talked last year about how nobody is better in the league at getting the feet down on the sidelines on passes that you at first glance say, no way he caught that in bounds. And he did. That last one, that third one, I was like, there's no chance he's actually in bounds on that play. And he was, because he's the best at that. I thought Denzel played well. I actually thought Grant Delpit played pretty well. That was about it.
I did too.
Yeah.
That was about it. So.
And Corey Bjorkes. All right, Bull.
All right,
have a good afternoon. We'll see you tomorrow. Real quick update on the tech.